Live, but not live.
But not live.
Skol. How you doing?
Not bad. Ready for a coffee.
We've literally only just seen each other and then started recording this.
That's how we roll.
How was your evening?
It was a delight.
Was it a delight? I watched Jurassic World last
I
night.
was going to say, how much High School Musical did you watch? But Jurassic World is...
I have been pushing High School Musical pretty heavily on my socials recently.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. I think, we started a new podcast. It's the start of something new.
I love it. It's just
We're all in it together.
dropping the quotes everywhere. I'm guessing you were watching Jurassic World because of your new Raptor Riley
approach. Yeah, Raptor Riley.
Are we keeping that as a bit of a sneak to the future?
I think the Raptor Riley video will be up now.
Okay, so Raptor Riley's a thing.
Raptor Riley's now a thing. You may have seen it. Riley has got the most ridiculous yawn ever.
Yeah.
Like, when we're working in the office, she's in her crate and you just hear this. Oh my word, what's going on? And it's just become a thing.
Yeah.
Raptor Riley is a thing. So,
So this is the logic of how our brains work.
yeah.
What was that? That sounds like a Velociraptor. We now need to make tons of content of parodies of the
Yeah,
exactly.
Our mind goes to content so
Yes.
quickly. It's like, yeah, but how can I make that into a piece of content?
Yes.
But in a positive way of,
Let's not deny it, mate. We're content whores
We
through
are.
and through.
we are. But there's different levels to it, isn't there? Sometimes it's massively valuable and sometimes we're just here to make you laugh.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Hopefully we do make you laugh.
I think there's nothing wrong with being a content whore, providing what we do is it's all value led.
Yeah.
Everything we do is trying to bring value to people.
Exactly. Yeah.
The more of that we do, the more value we give, the more people we help, the more dogs we help.
That's it. So,
Fenrir,
Raptor Riley.
So Raptor Riley. I'm not quite sure
My
where
keys
that's
are in
going to
my
go.
pockets.
Amateur hour.
Sorry, they
This
were
is a
rattling.
Delightful coffee.
This is a delightful coffee. Today
this the
we are
bougie
drinking
coffee?
This is the bougie coffee. That we were discussing this coffee that we had 2 years ago or something. I really want that coffee again, and I was like, I don't think you can even get it again because seasons of roast, blah 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 blah, coffee nerd stuff.
Yes.
And I was like, I don't think you can get it again. Off research, man goes, finds this. Wasn't the exact coffee,
No.
but from the same company, and it is fantastic.
Are we going to discuss how much it cost?
How much did it actually cost?
This one was I think £60.
£60. For how much?
200 grams.
200 grams of coffee. It's fantastic.
The one I wanted was £220. That was the Cup of Excellence.
Oh,
one.
so you went, I
that was out
won't
of
treat
stock.
ourselves that much.
I was going to get
You
it.
were going to get it.
But it was out of stock, and they said that this was the next closest, and it was £60. It tastes nothing like the one that we wanted, in my opinion, but it's still a
It's
delight.
still fantastic. Natural Ethiopian for anyone coffee nerds that are interested.
Natural
From
Ethiopian.
Gardelli. Is that the name of the roasters? They're an Italian
Gardelli.
roaster.
An absolute joy.
The most I've spent on Chemex, yeah, we always go
Through and
Chemex
through.
here. The most I've spent on a cup of coffee was £12 for one cup. But I swear down, I do not regret a penny of it. It was the most fantastic. It was a risk because I was like, it's all how it's brewed and everything.
Yeah.
I know the quality of the coffee was great, but obviously whoever brews it, oh my gosh.
So I don't know if I've ever told the story. We met working at a coffee shop.
We met, yeah. We both worked at a coffee shop. Should we name drop the coffee shop?
We'll save that for a future.
Save that for a
as
future
we're
episode.
there all the time, especially when lockdown comes out of.
We will be there all the time. Yeah, we used to work at a coffee shop. We were both just making coffee.
Living that barista life. That was when I was
cleaning toilets,
singing High School Musical,
singing High
and
School
Kiss.
Musical and Kiss. Yeah, that's our realm of music. High School
Where we
Musical
met.
and
That's
Kiss.
where our relationship flourished back in the day.
It is crazy. It is crazy when you think about it.
Yeah.
So we met. Yeah, so we both. I'm massively into coffee. You were kind of getting into the coffee scene.
I'm honest. I just needed a job to pay the bills so I could get this dog business up and running.
Which is
and
also
become a
very true.
behaviourist.
Yeah.
That's a fun story in itself, but we'll save that for another conversation.
That's another conversation. But yeah, so met there doing that, and then we always just you left first to go and start the beast that is.
Well, I'd been doing it for years.
Yeah, you kind of it was a side hustle, and then
it
became
full time.
and then
And then there was just
we just stayed in contact.
significant void of High School Musical in my life.
The only reason you employed me was so that you had someone to sing God Gave Rock and Roll to You by Kiss.
Beth, let's face it.
Beth,
best Kiss song of all time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And it's very underrated.
Very.
So we were going to talk, after that little spiel of randomness, it is a great coffee. We're going to talk a little bit about a comment that came up on one of our videos.
Yes.
So we've started, the training channel is awesome at the moment. Please go and check it out. Like, there's so many things going on. Bit of training from me, bit of training from Will, and bit of training from Garrett as well, which is awesome. And people, obviously, we talked about e-collars a couple of weeks ago, and people were kind of interested in the tools thing. And one of the things is puppies and tools.
Yes.
And the comment that was kind of brought up was around, why you advocating someone that's using tools with puppies when we have the puppy course, and is that, it kind of, does it contradict what we're saying in one thing to another thing if we're advocating someone that's doing stuff like that? So kind of, it's a bit of me asking you that question to like get today's podcast kind of in a flow of, what are your thoughts in terms of tools with puppies?
Cool.
I've got views on it, but I'll let you kind of...
We'll get to that point. I want to quickly kind of circle back to that comment in particular, because it will then go into puppies and tools, I think. So I have never wanted, the reason I have never named any of our channels or anything, any of the businesses, never has been named Will Atherton. It's never been named Atherton Dog Training, whatever. I've very quickly moved it to a brand, Fenrir, because I don't want it to be the Will Atherton Show. It's something, you know, the internal team
That's
knows.
A different thing.
The different show.
The Will Atherton Show is for friends and family, I think.
Yes, and at weekends only. But I don't want it to be the Will Atherton Show. I want it to be bigger than that. I want Fenrir to be bigger than that. And now I think the thing that people, I think it's one of those things in the world of, like, say, teaching, it is very widely accepted that there's different teaching styles. Or say coaching, sport coaching is another good analogy. You might have a coach that's like screaming his head off non-stop, driving people. Then there's a person that might be more softly approach, and different approaches work for different people, and people accept that with like sports coaching and with teaching and education and stuff, that there's different styles and not one style works for every person, which is why I didn't want it to be the Will Atherton Show. I wanted to kind of, this is my style and my approach, but it doesn't mean that it's the only approach that works. So I'm super keen, and that's where we've launched kind of our Fenrir Certified Trainers Program. You finish your apprenticeship and you're kind of running with it and taking it down your direction, and already massively developing your own style that is different from my style. And then we've brought Garrett on board. We've got a couple of other people that are really excited to kind of announce, that are in kind of discussions of bringing them on board. And I think it's really important to highlight those different styles and theories with the viewpoint of understanding that not every style is right, and that also different styles stem from different experiences and different usages. My style develops from working exclusively with companion dogs and helping people wanting dogs of what is frankly quite a low level of kind of, and if we compare it to Garrett, he's a really good example. So Garrett is kind of off the chart world leader when it comes to protection dogs, police dogs, military dogs, all that stuff, bite work, world leader, but it is completely different to what I do. So his philosophy, his experience, how his style has developed comes from a different place and achieves incredible outcomes. I am very proud of the outcomes I achieve, because that comes from my experience and my skill set, and I learn from Garrett, and I know that Garrett's the kind of person that is more than happy to learn from other people. And I think it's just that melting pot of ideas that for the professionals is really important, but then also the people watching, because you can take a little bit from me and a little bit from you and a little bit from Garrett, and that's what I'm trying to achieve with Fenrir is highlighting, and not just, it's not an ego show for me of making myself feel good.
Yeah.
For me, it's about lifting as many people up as
That's
possible
really cool.
to get it out there so that people can learn from it. That's kind of my take on that side of it, which then goes down the route of, well, do I use tools with young puppies? No, I personally don't. Does Garrett? Yes, he does. And then let's have that conversation. I'll let you jump in while I have a little sippy booze of this.
Sippy booze. Just to tag on to your first point about people taking bits from other trainers and stuff, like it could be from me, it could be from you, it could be from Garrett, it could be from other people on YouTube, it could be from friends, whatever. That's what makes a great leader, in my opinion. It's not copying someone and going, I just want to be like them. I just want, like, I'm just going to be their shadow.
But you will instantly fail if you do that.
Yeah, 100%, because you're never going to reach that. But learning about all the different things, we always talk about it, education, but like learning about all those different things, all those different skills from different trainers is what's going to make you an awesome leader and trainer, because that's going, this doesn't work for me, like what Will's shown me here, or what Garrett's doing here. That doesn't really work for me.
Or I don't like it.
Or I don't like it, which is also okay. But that's not what I want to do. But I'm going to try this method. Oh, this flows a lot better with me, and it makes a lot more sense in my head, and like I can relate to this, and I understand how it works better, or whatever. Therefore, I'm going to use this with this dog, or whatever that is in life. In leadership, you should, becoming your own leader is so important. Not trying to live in other people's shadow and be someone else. Be you, but be the best you of becoming that leader in yourself, and that's through learning through loads of other people. And Absolutely. I think it's very narrow-minded, really, just to go, I'm only going to watch this person, and that's who I'm going to aspire to be. I think it's good to aspire to people, but in a broader spectrum. And I think that often
is people's first step on a journey to something new, isn't it? Which I completely understand, and I'm aware that is often where people find me, is I want to get my first dog and I want to take that first step. So what I try and do, that's where I try and come in, is to give people an easily accessible foundation for excellence. That's kind of my principle.
Yeah, and that's perfect.
I want to give you what I deem to be a perfect canine companion, a dog that looks up to you for guidance and direction, it's well socialised, and it has mastered the fundamentals of walk nicely, sit and stay quietly if I ask you to, and come back to me when I ask you to. Because I believe if you've got that dog, you can live your life with that dog and it'd be wonderful. Now, what I like to do is boil all of these bits of information and people who I've studied under and all my experience into an easy to follow process of that. I take a few bits from this philosophy, a few bits from that methodology, and I try and make it, that's my goal, and that's kind of from my kind of experience in education and my degree in education. I try and condense advanced topics into an easy to follow curriculum. That's how my mind works. But what that then means is you can then start to offshoot off that. I try and build you a path to get you going, and then if that's the only path you ever stay on, you will have a wonderful dog.
Yeah, precisely.
But like in your case, you want to go like all in on kind of more obedience, high level obedience, high level kind of competition work obedience,
engagement, and
you can build off that foundation that my approach has provided, and then off you go. But the thing with that is that then may involve different tools, different tricks, different methodologies, and you can go and learn those things.
Let's kind of talk about that. So like basically, for those of you that don't know, I've got a Labrador puppy called Raptor Riley, who's now 6 months. I have done, or I'm making my way through, it's a year process, the Perfect Puppy course with her, and it has built awesome foundations of, like, it has created, in my opinion, of what I want from a dog at step one, the perfect canine companion.
That's exactly what I was about to say, is that most people, even at just 6 months old, will go, I wish my dog was like Riley. Now, it makes me smile watching you day to day get frustrated because your expectations are...
I have very high expectations.
Through the roof. Where I watch, and with all the clients I work with, they come to me and would give anything to have a dog like Riley. And you achieve that at 3-4 months, let alone now at 6 months, because you're on that journey now of going to extreme levels. So you are kind of veering off.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So it's like it's created great foundations, but in the process and in my thought process of where I'm going with Riley and what I want her to achieve and be, bearing in mind she's a working Labrador that I've got from a really high-end gun dog trainer, I want her to love life, and to love life she needs to work.
Yeah.
And like, not saying that she's not going to love life if she's more chilled out. Of course she will, but I want her to have her best life. And to do that is me and her having a relationship and building on that obedience side of things. Now, I don't go out shooting, so I'm not going to be doing gun dog, like high level gun dog stuff with her, but I'm going to be using bits of that, and I'm going to be doing high level obedience with her, because it's mental when you see her engage with you doing one of those sessions.
Literally, I'll be sat, so my office is here, and then you can go up into the farmhouse and you can hear the kitchen and living room, and you'll often do it in the living room, and I can hear Rachel giggling, and I'll go in and it's infectious watching her enthusiasm.
Riley's
to
love
work.
for life brings so much joy to so many people, but that's through that.
It's at its peak when she's working with you.
When she's working, she's at full like love life. Yesterday, like I was doing some sit stays with Fetch in the park, and a boxer, like just zero recall. It was a bit like I'll try and help. Like one of those. Boxer bounds up to her and she goes, dude, I'm working. Not bothered by you. I've got to bring this stick back. And she just comes back to me, and I'm having to grab the boxer. But like, it was a whole thing. But like her engagement, that's where she gets her love for life. But for me to go to that next stage, controversial line coming, to get to that next stage of obedience and things with her, I'm having to bring in some areas of it, tools, which is a prong collar. Yeah. So when she's out on lead, I'm wanting higher levels of heel work and things like that.
You're in the steps of competition, obedience and heel. Competition,
precisely,
heel in
yeah.
particular.
So that, and then also levels of engagement, because she's a working dog, I'm needing to teach her in a different way, because although she'll walk to heel, her head is spinning in every direction, because she's like, I've got to be keeping my eyes out here, I've got to have my nose down here to smell this. But actually what I want to train her in is, when you're on lead, it's actually work time. Like in the same way that when we walk in with our placemat and all the different things that I'm using there to do an obedience session, actually your lead work is just as much obedience. And through using a prong, it's like spending days and days and days working on it with a slip to moving to a prong, and then her clicking in her head, this is engagement time and this is work time, to the point, this will be my latter argument, or not argument, but just phrase of what I'm saying with Riley, is that she'll now go out in the garden, I'll go to the back door, go like this with her prong collar and dangle it, and she's like, boom, let's go. Because she's like, oh, it's
Tail
work
wagging,
time.
jumping up.
Full like, so we're going out, we're going to work now, are we?
Yeah.
And that doesn't need to be out and about, that could be in the garden with her or whatever, but her engagement with it is huge.
Yeah. So this is where it's kind of fascinating for me, and this is where it's, I think, a really interesting conversation, because that then takes us on to different people, different styles, with different outcomes. So my role as a behaviourist is around modifying behaviours. Now, you don't come to me to modify a good behaviour, of course. You're going to come to me to modify a bad behaviour. So my history, experience, skill set comes from utilising those tools to fix bad behaviours. Now, with my own personal dogs, I've also used those tools to teach high-level behaviours as well. But is that my expertise? No, it's not. You're now moving beyond that and kind of using, rather than using a tool to modify a behaviour, you're using a tool to help craft and teach higher levels and perfect and tune in. And there's a couple of routes you can go down: the more kind of positive only, trick training, all food-based stuff, which is fun and works. In my experience and my opinion, it works in lower distraction environments. You want competition level work.
I need to be able to go in. I need to be able to go into our coffee shop. And go sit, and she doesn't move. That's what I'm looking for, and that's the engagement that I need with her. for partly for my lifestyle of where I want to go with stuff, but also for her as like, I think she's kind of one of those dogs that is an absolute joy, and she would make anyone kind of happy. But
I disagree with that.
Okay, interesting.
I think she would be a nightmare for the wrong owner.
Well, this is what I was going to say. I think her and what I meant by that, was her kind of happiness for life would bring people joy and stuff. But if you give her an inch, she will take more than a mile. Because she is so strong and independent to the point where we're teaching her to swim, right?
Yeah.
And we throw a stick, like this is only the second time we're teaching her to swim, throw a stick, and she goes, boom, in. She's like, okay, cool.
And then
whereas we've watched other dogs
kept swimming
and lost the stick and kept going.
Well,
it wasn't a like, oh crap, I need to get back now.
Do we need
it's
to
like
go in and swim
I was
and
genuinely
get her?
like, she could just keep going here. Okay, cool. It's one of those things. She's super independent.
She reminds me, it's what makes me sad because Sully is exactly the same.
Yeah, Sully's exactly the same.
So
with that, like I said, so when I said she'd make anyone happy, I think her personality is great, but with her and obedience and things like that and being out and about, not to stereotype and things like that, but if she was in going down a positive only route with, a harness on or whatever from a young age where she hadn't been taught heel and stuff, mate, she would be pulling you left, right, and centre. And also, for me as well, my wife is very like a smaller lady, and Riley, when she's fully grown, she's gonna be so strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
She will drag Amy anywhere.
So she is a prime example. That level of independence, assertiveness, and confidence that she brings is fascinating because with your method of training, especially a more balanced approach, we'll get that to extreme levels.
Yeah.
Now, that's where a positive approach with those kind of dogs, a positive only approach, really fails because, again, no distraction. Well, this is what I want, so I'll do anything for it. It'll work really well.
Yeah.
A dog that independent, confident, and assertive, out and about, sees, smells, hears something that is more interesting than you, they do not care then about you because they want this thing.
I can have steak and it wouldn't work.
Assertive enough to be like, yeah, right, I'm gone.
Yeah.
My Labrador is exactly the same now. My foster puppy and Eileen, my English Mastiff, polar opposite.
Exactly.
Completely passive. They're not assertive. They're not. Puppy's a bit more confident. Eileen's definitely on the lower confidence side. So I have to kind of give her more leadership just to bring her up a little bit. Whereas with Sully and Riley, we actually have to bring them down a little bit to let them know.
Remember where you are.
Here, I'm in charge. Otherwise, the second they get a glimpse of, I don't have to do that, then they're gone. They're done.
Yeah. And that, for me, that phrase, remember where you are, is what a prong collar kind of does for me. It's not I'm trying to, she's not up in people's faces barking or trying to rip a dog's head off or anything like that. I'm not trying to correct those kind of things out for her because she just doesn't have it in her.
So that's the thing, it kind of touches back on what you were talking about, what I talked about earlier about your ridiculously high expectations. So that's where you've got her to that point. And again, it's that point that I try to give to people of this is perfect for the vast majority of people. And they could be happy with that and stay at that level. And maybe she walks loose lead, but it's maybe a little bit in front, a little bit off to the side, a little bit back. Maybe she's sniffing the ground a little bit, but it's still loose lead, beautiful walking, better than the vast majority of dogs. But you want to take it to that next level. And then again, that's where it's kind of cool, awesome. I've done my job. I've given you a perfect canine companion that will be able to be a happy, fulfilled, loved dog that's under control at all times. Now it's again up to you where you want to take that and run with it. And now again, you're going down those kind of more advanced routes, which is a fascinating world, but kind of isn't my world, which I suppose I'll let you jump in, but kind of then would bring us all the way back to somebody like Garrett. That is why we brought him
that's
on.
another level, isn't it? It's Garrett's at then a new extreme that he's doing that, but not necessarily down the kind of trick obedience route or anything like that. He's going more no, actually I'm training these dogs to be under extreme pressure, like with the police and
So that's
stuff, which is a whole different ball game.
So that I think is a really nice analogy. So if you're training police dogs, military dogs, especially in America, it's different here because we don't have guns here.
Yeah.
So those dogs have to be able to go into an extremely dangerous situation with gunshots, horrible situations, we won't go into detail, but act flawlessly. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're low distraction or literally bombs going off in the military with machine gun fire flying, helicopters, aeroplanes, the worst it could be, and those dogs have to perform without batting an eyelid and be laser focused. To achieve that, you absolutely have to use tools. There's no doubt about it. Those dogs also have to be incredibly assertive and confident dogs. But to reel that in and keep the focus with the handler to keep them on track, on point, working, you have to use those tools for that balanced approach. You're kind of in a more civilian situation of that. You've got that incredibly independent, confident dog. Now, you're not training her to go into war zones, but you do want to train her to high levels of obedience and some potential retrieval work and just high levels. So again, you have to reel that independence in onto you, use a tool to kind of steer that, and then you're back to praise and reinforcement. And anyone that watches you work with Riley will see how much praise and positive reinforcement she gets. But I think that's where, like, Garrett is a prime example now. His skill set and experience is in using those tools and using those tools to insane levels of success, far beyond where I take my clients to. Because again, I want to give them that foundation that the vast majority of people will be over the moon with. Because he goes to the moon with his skill set, he has an incredible knowledge and understanding of using those tools for training, which means he knows how to implement them with younger puppies. Now, I don't want to put those tools in the hands of first-time, inexperienced owners who just want that base level foundation. Garrett works with people like you that do want astronomically high levels of success and are experienced and skilled enough in how to use those tools. So bringing those tools into puppies, my kind of thing is I like to wait till 5-6 months if you want to go to that level. If you don't, then you don't need them. That's what my Perfect Puppy course is. It's to teach you how to get there using the minimal amount of physical correction as possible. If you want to go there, I think around 5-6 months is where I like to I'll do basics with people. And then if they want to go past that again, now it's off to you, it's off to Garrett, it's off to those kind of higher level people. And like I say, just because it's not what I do, doesn't mean I disagree with it. It's just a different methodology, a different approach for a different scenario, solution and situation. But does it mean that we shouldn't learn from them? Absolutely not. You're a fool for not listening and observing.
In the same way that we learn from positive only trainers.
Exactly.
We're learning from everyone and we're building strong leadership ourselves through doing that. Now, kind of going back to you talking about tools with young puppies and like people just taking that on. If you're listening to this podcast and going, I kind of get that, and I'm like, I want to achieve that with my dog's 6 months, and like I'm going to go and get a prong collar. Back to the whole education thing. Don't just go and smack a prong collar on your dog without like actually learning how these things work. My wife's learning how they work right now. I have gone through the process of learning it and doing it to a high level with older dogs and different types of dogs, and I've like learned how this tool works, and then I've used it with Riley. It's not like Riley's not the first dog that I've used a prong collar with. Then my wife is now learning how to use a prong collar and doesn't use it except with me or with you, here's someone who can actually teach you how to do this properly. Otherwise otherwise the tool it doesn't work anyway. If you're not using a tool properly, it doesn't work. So like, this isn't us advocating for people to then just go and buy prong collars for their dogs, because that's not what we're about either.
You don't need one.
And you don't need one.
It depends what you want your desired outcome is, and ultimately kind of what kind of dog you've got and where on the journey you've got to. like I say, if you're starting from 8 weeks blank slate with my puppy course, no, to get to that foundation level, you don't need one. Yeah. That's why I don't overly teach one.
Hence why we have only just brought a Prong collar into Riley's life.
Because you spent all that time building that foundation. I have kind of said, you've been asking me, Will, do you think now? And I'm like, no, keep building that foundation. Keep building that foundation. And I'm like, she's there now, mate.
Yeah.
You
and through
can now
doing
take her as far as you want to take her.
And through doing all those other things, like that's built massive trust with me and her, that she knows that it's all good, that like he's got it. Yeah. So this is in his hands. The other thing, just to talk a little bit on if people are interested in doing this with their dogs, like I've also spent the past 2 months conditioning Riley to a Prong collar. Yeah. So I have had it just in my hand, like hearing the noise. I've like, other people go down different routes with this, but this is how I would do it, is that I've also done training sessions with her just wearing it, not using it, just clipped to it, nothing clipped to it, literally just her having it on and getting used to, because normally she has just a flat collar on. So now she's got obviously like something that's making noise because it's metal. So it's, but anyway, so I've conditioned her to it. So I'm not going in heavy and just being like, here's a new thing.
You're not using it as a corrective tool. You've done a positive association program, which is the fancy term of what you've said. Making her associate very positive things, which is work for her. This means work. And then after a couple of months, you can now then teach her the language of that. And the language of a Prong for me, like you might have seen the Kendrick video, is emergency. I've got to deal with this quickly.
Has to be done.
So it is a corrective tool.
Yeah.
The guys like you now and Garrett, they will use it in a different language. It's like I speak English with a Prong, you're speaking French, and you're communicating how to go kind of back and forward, and it is very, and it is, like I say, you're not just using it to say stop. It's finesse. There's so much more to it than simply put this on and rag them, like you say. It's a way of guiding. It's a lot of people call it a steering wheel. Of like shifting them and get it. It's just beautiful. It's lovely to watch. And again, we'll do more videos on it of you, like you say, when she's got it on and just showing the joy and enthusiasm for life. Because you've implemented it effectively, learning from people like Garrett who know how to do that. That would then take us on to the e-collar, which is something that you want to do in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
So once you've gone through this kind of Prong association phase, you're then going to do a conditioning program to the e-collar. But again, my experience with an e-collar is usually more down the lines of this dog is going to get put down today. And there is no other option than to come in and use this as an aversive way to save this dog's life, or it's literally the vet is booked. We've been in them situations where we've had to use an e-collar. You are going to go over a 4 to 6 week program again of positive association to a point where that will never be used aversively. It will never be used as a correction. It'll be used as a mobile phone. You'll be texting Riley from a distance, sparking that like enthusiasm and bubble for life, and being able to communicate with her silently through an e-collar to extremely high levels. So that's where you'll be able to have her literally half a mile away doing sit, down, stay, spin, all silently, just with different taps on an it's wonderful. It's insanity what people can do when they use it properly. Yes, that is further.
Well, that's the thing. Some people will be listening to this going, that just sounds like so much work, and I don't want to do that. And my dog's fantastic, and I have a great relationship with them. Awesome. That's what you get from your dog. Amazing. Absolutely love it.
That's personally, for my personal dogs, is what I want from them. I want them to...
Hence why you have an English Mastiff. It's a different relationship as well that you wanted from that dog, whereas I've got a working Labrador for that relationship, and that's why you got Sully to work in that capacity with your dogs. So all of these things I think are fine. It's just, what do you want from your relationship with the dog? And think about that before you go and just choose a breed, whatever. It's so important.
And even then, like you say, within the Labrador conversation,
there's levels to that.
Get a show Labrador if you want one to lie by the fire and look like an Andrex puppy. If you want to be out working for 7 hours a day, go down the Riley route. You go out and work her for 3 hours. She'll have a drink and a sit down for 2 minutes, and then she's staring at you.
She's like,
"When are we going again?
Go again?
When are we going? When are we going?" And
which for me, some people like it. Like in all honesty about Riley, it can wind my wife up of like, oh, why don't you just chill out, man. Whereas for me, like, it's fantastic because it like with my health and stuff, it makes me go, come on, you've got to do this.
Yeah.
You've got to go out and work with me, and you've got to, because otherwise I'm just going to stare at you all day, and I find that really creepy. But like that's what I wanted. When we were talking about breed selection and stuff, that's what I wanted. I wanted a dog that I could go, I'm going to go on the hills today and just spend 3 hours up there and not have to worry about my dog running out of energy or things like that.
Around sheep, cattle,
Precisely.
Hundreds of other dogs.
Yeah.
Difficult terrain, off lead.
Now
that does require a higher level of obedience, a higher level of communication, and you're going to be able to do that on lead, off lead with an e-collar, off lead with a whistle. So you're going to teach her how to speak. So I help a dog understand English. You're then going to help her understand English fluently, French, Spanish, German. She's going to be multilingual through different tools, and those different tools are a different language, and you're going to teach her how to be fluent. Now that requires hours of work every day for years. And again, this is where I'll jump in. I did it with Sully, and I got him there, and I kind of looked back on that and went, that was awesome. I'm glad that I did it. It was a fun experience. I've got him to a point now where he can live out his life at that level. I don't want to do that again. I had my Bull Mastiff and I had Sully. Went through the same process. And I was like, oh, it's Mastiffs are for me, they're my breed. And for me, I always use it as kind of the outward public approach is superb manners. My thing, don't be a dick. I want my dog, don't be a dick. Walk nicely with me. Sit and wait patiently if I ask you to, and come back if I ask you to.
That's my philosophy on life, bro. Just don't be a dick.
Exactly. But like, do that, and that's all I want from my personal dog. Now I've got Sully because when we go hiking, I've got that. From my next batch of dogs, that's all I want is just to be able to kind of come in and for my wife and for my kids.
Which is
stuff.
It's an interesting thing, because that's mine. Like, kind of straddles those two worlds of the. Like, this is what I wanted from my first dog, because I wanted to do this process and I wanted to like challenge myself personally, but also have this kind of working relationship with the dog. But then I am like, we will probably be bringing a second dog into our home and stuff. But actually I'm more looking down your route for the second dog, because, for example, with my wife, like, for Amy, her importance is actually, you know, that evening cuddles, like just chilling out with your dog, which is awesome. There's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
But like, for me to kind of have a working dog and then a kind of chilled vibe dog is then those two worlds spot on. I don't think I would go for two working dogs, just because actually I really enjoy having that strong bond with one. Not that that bond's not going to be with a more chilled out dog, but that working bond with one, and then that kind of more chilled, like, don't be a dick dog, like, with me as well. And that's like, but you know, when you're picking a breed, that's just as important, thinking about what you want from your breed, what you want from your dog, whether that's working, whether that's chilled, whether that's being able to go on runs with them, hikes, whatever, but also like, how is that going to fit into your life? Because if you're going, oh, I love what Joe's got of like being able to go on long walks and enjoy all this stuff, and that they're really high energy and stuff, but you're working crazy hours in an office, it doesn't work, does it? Whereas I work in an environment where I'm able to get here at 6 and take them for a long walk before I've started my day. So I'm able to achieve that thing with the dog. So set yourself up for a win with that breed selection and work all those different things out in your life, and what's going to be good for the dog and you. It is a combination for both, I think.
And I think there's that, like, and I think you can have multiple roles within a household. So I think, like you say, there's nothing wrong with you having 2 dogs for 2 different roles.
No.
And I think that's, listening to you talk about that, I think that is what I've got. Now, Sully has definitely, for a while, he straddled both roles. I'll be completely honest, he is now my working dog. And he works with me, and he'll spend time at my parents' house because their Jack Russell died, so they like to have that dog in the environment. So he'll straddle two worlds, 2 places, But when he's with me, he's working with me. I'll use him as a role model dog. I'll use him for kind of training-based stuff. My family companions Puppy and our Mastiff, they live like in the living room. Now, when Sully gets older and the inevitable happens, I think I will have a very clear division, especially now we're on the farm and we've got more space. I think we'll have a pack of Mastiffs, but they will be the family dogs, and I think there's probably 2 working dog roles. There'll be a guardian breed, probably a Turkish Kangol, that'll roam, that'll have a kennel outside, will live outside, and will be responsible just for roaming the farm and keeping it safe. And then potentially a kind of more personal protection type dog, Doberman, Shepherd, Malinois, and I'm considering even having a professional and have it trained and get it at 18 months, 2 years old. Maybe
Nothing
have
wrong
like
with that,
a Garrett,
Yeah.
get it to that high level that I can't achieve because it's not my world.
Yeah.
And then come in and have that dog, again, be kind of more of a personal, close quarters protection dog.
Interesting.
And for kind of work-based stuff again.
The future dogs of Fenrir.
Yeah,
the future pack.
And obviously we've got, because I'm thinking kind of where we're going, and we've got things like the rescue centres, the sanctuaries, the canine centres, that I'm kind of thinking of having a dog, especially that personal protection dog, that could stay at those places when required and work.
Yeah.
But that would be, and the way it would live differently with me, it would also live so that those dogs, like I say, the Kangol would live outside. It'd have its own kennel.
Yeah.
Still love it to pieces and look after it.
For sure.
It's a job.
Yeah, that is has a job
to do
to
a job.
do.
And I think there's definitely, and like I say, the personal protection dog, again, that might sleep in the office, or it might sleep in one of the canine centres. I always kind of think security. Always just kind of spinning on ideas, but I think it's more prevalent in America for people to understand that dogs can have jobs and can be working.
Yeah.
With our friends in America, I think it's something that they don't necessarily like, oh, of course. But I think here in the UK, that we've really come quite far away from that a dog having a job, and then therefore the training of that dog being different.
A dog's rights here in the UK are very different to a dog's rights in America.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is a whole nother conversation.
Yes, definitely.
And a difficult conversation. Because, again, it's kind of two sides, and I wouldn't be really an extremist on either side with it. But
that's what I mean, because I actually think I can have both.
Yeah, exactly.
I can have my dog chill on the sofa and watch The Office with me in an evening and just have cuddles and be fun. And that's what Rachel wants, like what Amy wants. But then also, I want a dog that lives outside, that is a working dog to protect our territory.
But it's interesting, isn't it?
I think a lot of people in England would see that as highly cruel to have a dog.
Mate, what's interesting is people think I'm cruel with Riley, not about the prong collar stuff.
Yeah.
Man, they're probably going to think I'm really cruel. Like, Joe, I get so many comments going, just give your dog a hug. I do give my dog a hug, you just don't see it. Yeah. But
and also she needs to earn it.
And she needs to earn it, 100%. But people think I'm cruel because Riley, when she's working, she's out. When she's not working, she's crated.
Yeah.
And people think I'm cruel by that. But honestly, you've never seen a dog love a crate more. When I get home from a walk, she's like, so, am I cool to go to my crate? Like, this is my time. Like, and people think I'm cruel with that. So, like, there's so many levels to it, isn't there? Whereas I think I'm giving Riley one of the best lives ever.
So, she's at home today, isn't she? But like yesterday when you brought her in for work, what was it, an hour and a half you were out with her in the morning?
walk an hour and a half, back, crate.
For how long?
2.5 hours.
And then another hour out.
A little stroll. And then she went back in her crate.
Bear in mind, what is a little stroll for you?
A little stroll is like 15 minutes. This is actually what happened. So there was a 15-minute stroll. She went then back in for an hour just because I'm working at the same time, so I need to get stuff done. So she went then back in for an hour. Then I took her out for half an hour walk, and then she came back and worked. So I then did like about half an hour to 40-minute training session with her. Then she went back in her crate. Bearing in mind, she's just gone for a half an hour walk and then half an hour to 40 minutes of training. That mentally for her, she's still 6 months old. Hour and a half walk in the morning.
And then a 15-minute stroll.
15-minute stroll.
Then another
half an hour. Then half an hour, 40-minute training session. And then she stays in then pretty much all afternoon. She'll then stay in her crate.
Yesterday, she was outside for half an hour with
Puppy. She was, yeah. She also
free time
had free time of just playing with the other dogs. And then but normally she'll just be in her crate for the whole afternoon. Then I get home and I work on fetch drills with her when I get home at the park. For half an hour. So like she's 6 months old and she can hack all of that. People, 100% people will say you're exercising your dog too much. Again, this is why I got a working dog. I'm not here to be a bit of a pansy with her and go, oh, I'm only going to do 1 minute a day or whatever. I got her for this reason. She flipping loves it. She's loving life. And I want to give her that best life of enjoying life.
But also, have you ever had a sofa destroyed?
I've never
had
anything
had
destroyed.
Toilet accidents?
Nope.
Have you ever, other things, excessive barking?
Nope.
Excessive chewing?
I've heard Riley bark twice.
Yeah. And what would you put that down to?
Exercise.
And?
Obedience and training and relationship.
Yeah. With what tool have you used there? I'm putting you on the spot here. I know you know. Crate training.
Oh, sorry. I was like, what do you mean? Yeah, crate training, 100%. So Riley, like, you may think it's cruel that Riley's in a crate for a long time, but she doesn't pee inside because she's in her crate. She doesn't have free space. From the moment I brought her home, she went to sleep. Like, I remember it vividly that I had a choice to make in the first hour that she got home. She went and slept by the back door, but I picked her up and put her in a crate.
Yeah.
From the get-go. Like, as soon as she decided, I'm going to go to sleep, this is 8 weeks old, I went, cool, you're in your crate. And that was from that moment, it was like, you're in your crate. She doesn't have toilet accidents because she's in her crate. She doesn't whine because she's in her crate. She doesn't bark because she's in her crate. Now, as she gets older, the crate will be used less in the house. But to counteract that, I'm teaching her place to a high level where I can be in another room, say place, and she goes to her place so that when the doorbell goes, she knows where she's meant to be and she knows where having that, not control, I can't think of the word. What's the word I'm looking for? Structure. Having that structure, sorry, mine got blank. That's because I speak French. Having that structure in a dog's life is so important. So circling all the way back to what this podcast is kind of about with the Prong structure, it's giving her structure and like, you know, please, if you don't want this stuff, cool, unfollow me. Yeah. Don't listen to what I have to say. I don't mind.
Yeah.
It's the relationship that I'm building and I believe in it very strongly. And like Riley, I get home when she's been at home with my wife and she is buzzing to see me.
But then what do you do?
I ignore her. I'm so brutal. I ignore her because I need her to be calm and quiet before she gets my attention.
She doesn't have separation anxiety as well.
Yeah, it's the reason. So, but what my point around that is that she's excited to see me. There's not a bad relationship between us. She just knows that actually, like, to get everything that I want in this world, this is what I need to achieve.
Yeah.
And this is what I need to be. I don't have kids, but I would have the same philosophy if I had kids. I'd be like, don't be a dick.
Yeah.
And you get what you want.
Yeah.
Don't be
I'll tell
like,
this story.
Yeah.
So Dexter, we've had massive lockdown. We've moved house. So Dexter he's had a long time off school.
Isn't it weird that like a year ago saying massive lockdown, you would have been like, what's massive lockdown?
What are you on about?
Yeah. Anyway,
so he's had months off school, and then in that time we moved house, and then he had to start. So he's had months off and had to start at a new school.
Yeah, crazy.
And the first day was fine, and then the second couple of days he got dead upset when he went in. Now what the teachers did was they came and okay, cool, come on, let's go. And they played Marble Run. Let's go and play Marble Run. And that's what it got in. And you were in the office when he came into me, and I saw straight away. I was like, you've been operant conditioned here to understand that if you display that behaviour, you get your desired response. Yeah. So they've been positively reinforcing the behaviour of crying to then get what he wants. And it was funny. I was like, people think I'm so cruel. So I said, tomorrow, Dexter, when you go to school, if you cry, I'm going to call the school and tell them not to let you play with marble runs. However, if you go in like a big boy and be really brave and not cry, because you heard him talking, he's I got dead upset, but the teacher let me play marble runs. I'm like, you're putting this together. This is becoming a learned behaviour. Yeah. So I was like, if you go in all dead sad and upset and cry, I'm going to have to tell them that you can't play marble runs. But if you go in, I promise you, they're going to play marble run with you, and they'll get you a Kinder Egg when you come home. Next day,
living best life.
walked straight in, shoulders back, head up, excited to go in because he was keen for his. And again, a lot of people
would lost the marble run.
But you played marble run all day, and you got a kinder egg at home, and you saw him come back, and he was buzzing. Like, Daddy, I was a big boy, I didn't cry.
I said, Dexter, how was school? It was really, really, really good. 3 reallys. 3 reallys.
And it's a similar. Now I know a lot of people will think that was super cruel for me to handle it in that scenario.
Because he's distressed in the moment, but actually what for you achieved in that long run.
Yeah.
Now we're not here to give parenting advice. That's when it gets really controversial, especially from a guy with no kids. I'm like, this is how you got to do it, right?
I'll step in and give an analogy. I believe
exactly.
in it as well. It's that structure, boundaries, discipline, routine,
which I agree with.
Expectations.
Yeah. And I'm doing the same thing with my dog.
I think as a culture, we have massively moved away from that, haven't we?
We've massively moved away from it, but also what's interesting when it does come to dogs is that I just made a joke there about going, I can't say something about kids because people get all funny about it of like, well, you don't know, man. Yeah. Or like, same with you. If you said, well, I do this, people would be like, yeah, well, that's what you do with your kids. Like, step away from my kids. And like, there's this kind of like you can't talk about parenting in it is as blunt way. But then dogs, people will judge you on the spot and they'll tell you. And you're like, what's the difference? Like, I'm not judging you for what you're doing. That boxer yesterday, I'm like, cool, man. Like he's on a harness, he's running off, he's having a whale of a time. He's not coming back to you. Cool. That's your life. Yeah. That's how you've decided to have your dog. I don't know them at all. They could be super, super happy with it. If they're happy with how they're living their life with their dog, awesome. You've achieved what you wanted with your dog. Great. That's not what I want from my dog. Yeah. I want a different thing.
And I'll step in there with a kid analogy because, like as we talked about on a first podcast, I spent 10 years working with youth offenders and special needs schools for boys with behaviour problems. I've seen how that happens, what causes that, the lack of discipline, routine, expectations, boundaries and structure that lead to those behaviours a lot of times, not all the time, not blanketing, but so I've been like, yeah, cool. If you're happy,
if you want to do that,
there is no way in a million years I'm raising my children like that. I'm raising them with a lot of rules, boundaries, expectations, and discipline. Now the discipline, let's have a massive discussion about that because I've never once laid a finger on either of my children, yet I instill discipline in them from an early age. Yeah. Now, like I say, I was disciplining Dexter there with the analogy of the marble run finger. I'll call them up that was discipline. I didn't need to be physical with him. And then that's where it's a common criticism to make that analogy between dogs and children is, well, you can discipline a child without having to be physical, so why are you being physical with a dog? Is, well, like we talked about, you can't put a dog on a naughty step. Yeah. You can't communicate that way with a dog. Yeah. You can't take a dog's Nintendo off it.
And I know for a fact Riley's not into marble runs.
Yeah, so exactly. It wouldn't work, but you can. But I still think just how you have a responsibility, in my humble opinion, to put rules, boundaries, expectations, and discipline into your children to make them. Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. With your dog, you have to put those same things in, and sometimes if that means a physical correction to achieve that desired outcome of them not becoming a dick, then do your job and train your dogs and do it properly. Like I say, I want to be out of business as a canine.
That's what we've talked about. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
I don't want any more behaviour consultations because we've helped people at the early stages not get to that point. It would be a job well done the day that people stop emailing me saying my dog's trying to tear other dogs' faces off, or my dog's bit my child, or my dog's killed the rabbit, or all of those things, or 99 out of 100 of those things would have been solved with better rules, boundaries, expectations and discipline from an early age. My Perfect Puppy course is designed to give that to that foundation layer, and then what you then do and build upon that is completely up to you. And you have chosen to go down that route. Other people might choose to go down the more dancey, agility, that kind of route. Some people want to go down a personal protection route. Some people want to go down a gun dog route. Some people want to just stay there and have a perfect companion. But like I say, I think it's very much... and it fascinates me from a psychological perspective of more of like a cultural phenomenon of the shift. And I think it's because I grew up with my granddad being kind of terrible person, but wonderful.
Brutal.
But wonderful with dogs. And it always fascinated me because we grew up with Jack Russells, and I'm talking like my earliest memories, 5, 6, 7 years old, of knowing these Jack Russells were terrorists, just atrocious dogs. But we loved on them all the time. They had everything that they wanted, and I used to remember then my granddad, he lived in a camper van, and he'd rock up whenever he needed to plug his camper van in and steal some electricity. Never spoke to me, completely blanked us, but I would observe him with the and he'd just focus on the dogs, but I'd observe and watch him with the dogs, and he like never showed an ounce of affection to them, but they were like,
they suddenly turned into
it was, and I think that's what planted that seed in my brain from an early age. And I watched it, and he'd have a piece of string. Literally, we had, again, all different leads, and go to a pet shop, and my dog's a dick, and I go, well, let's sell you a product. And he'd rock up with a piece of string, and I'd watch it. I don't get it, being a young age. And then, like I say, as I started to get older, I learned, and I was studying. That was and it fascinated me, I think. And it was just watching him come in and like be quite cold and brutal. But what fascinated me more was like I'd come in from school or from playing, and I'd want to play with it, and they just weren't bothered. All they wanted was to be with him, and it used to make me quite jealous, actually, and I didn't understand it, but now I know exactly what was happening because he came in and instilled leadership. That leadership led to an incredible relationship between them, and he communicated silently with nothing more than a piece of string, and they adored him and couldn't care less about us. We were the people that fed them, gave them all the treats and toys, took them for the terrible walks where they're being reactive, and we made every excuse under the sun for them, like everybody does. And I was jealous of like, why can he do that? But that's because he was old school, ex-military, Navy. It's this way: routine, discipline, structure, boundaries, organisation. And I think it's where like older people, those kids.
These kids these days, I don't know.
You know, the millennials and the snowflakes and the entitlement and stuff. And I'm kind of, as I'm getting older, I'm becoming that way a little bit.
I'm really moving that way. Like the entitlement in the world at the moment, it's just like everyone's entitled to everything. And I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this, and where we're going to be in 10 years. And
I think kind of from seeing that early on, then my dad was a fireman and like chief officer fireman. So hard as nails, as close to like military, not being in the military.
Lad.
My dad very well. Alpha male as it comes. So I'm growing up in that environment and again, from 10 years old, I was out multiple paper rounds and working and hustling and grinding. That's kind of always been my mindset. And then seeing how that's like translated with dogs with like discipline, routine, put the work in, put the reps in, put the effort in. And then I went and worked in special needs schools and youth offending institutions. And I'm like, okay, I can't help but wonder, like, why are they like this? And I'm unpicking that, and you just see a mess of lack of discipline, routine, boundary, structure. I come in and create these programs around putting in routine, discipline, rules, boundaries, expectations, and seeing them flourish. And then other staff members being like, why is Will, like, why they adore Will, but he's like he's down the line. He's not like buying sweets and treats like some please don't set fire to this room and I'll give you a lollipop at the end of the lesson. No, that's not flying with me. And then they're the people that are like, why are they like that with Will? And I suppose it's a similar analogy of like what they were like, the dogs were like with my granddad. And it's just, and then that's how I'm raising my children. And again, I think it surprises people that, again, we're in the pub and we haven't got iPads and phones out back when, remember when you could go and eat in a pub? You remember that?
Good times, man.
But he would sit, you know how good his manners are.
Fantastic.
Impeccable manners. We still need to train him up on not dropping his coat as soon as he walks.
That's my job.
Door. You're working on that. But I just think it's an interesting cultural phenomenon that's happening.
Fascinating.
Of where it's like spreading out. Now, obviously we've gone off on a massive tangent there, but I see that rubbing off in the dog world. And I think where I have like had such massive amounts of success and where it boggles people's mind is I suppose I've kind of become like my granddad attitude of people have got this nightmare dog and they come to, and I just kind of leadership, relationship, communication, and it fixes it. And it's that like, just kind of do that yourself and you don't have these problems.
So basically what you're concluding is in, let's say, 1 to 3 years time, I'm going to rock up here and you're not going to be here. you're going to be somewhere in a caravan.
I'm definitely not going to be that man.
Taking electricity
from my family.
Yeah, you rock up actually at my
everyone.
house with a caravan. Mind if I plug my caravan in? And like, what's going on here? You a caravan, Rachel, your 2 kids, and then just English Mastiffs.
Everywhere.
You open it and English Mastiffs will like come out.
Caravan. I feel like that became a bit of a Freudian therapy session of me delving into my childhood.
Yeah, mate. Well, that's what I'm here
need
for.
A sofa.
Yeah,
maybe these sessions should be me lying down
just
on a
counselling.
sofa. Yeah, and you talking to me.
So, where does your deep love for High School Musical come from? Well, basically, I was never allowed to express myself as a child.
Amazing.
Whereas I'm like, let's go. Oh dear. It couldn't be. We used to share an office properly.
We need to talk about that because I'm thinking about moving back in with you.
Oh, okay. That's a big moment.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I want you back in now, mate.
We
No, I'm
sing
joking.
all day, every day.
We used to share an office, and it used to kind of be like almost take it in turns. Whoever kind of turned the music on first controlled the music for the day, and the music's so like we share like. We like Kiss.
Yeah.
We both like High School Musical, which I just think's really out of what you normally like. But like we like Kiss, we like High School Musical, both love Elton John, and that's kind of where the line stops.
Yeah.
It's like those 3 things. If you put one of those on, we're both happy.
Yeah.
But then it's like then I'm playing like Hamilton, the musical, or Dear Evan Hansen, or Disney. Yeah, Disney came on yesterday, and I was like, oh, I love this one.
And he's like, watch this, Will. I know all the words to the
Yeah,
Rock's rap.
yeah, I know. I was like, mate, you know the rap that you know? Well, I know the rap of Moana. But that's the thing, is then I came up here after listening to that, and I'm just hit by aggressive. The only way I call it like your genre of music is aggressive rap, where I feel like I've been listening to it and I just feel like really horrible afterwards that someone's been telling me off for an hour.
I'm all like jacked up, like, Joe, we're going to take over the world.
You're like, let's go. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Please put Mary Poppins on. So it's like our music taste is, but now maybe this is happening, that we're going to be in the same office.
Yeah, because this is my office /studio. But I think it's now starting to become more and more
of a studio. The amount of stuff we're putting out.
So I'm thinking about just kind of moving.
Are we just bringing like everyone that listens to the podcast in on our meetings now? Is that what we're going to do?
I think so, yeah.
On the agenda today, number 1.
Would you like to take the minutes?
Are you moving back into my office?
I think potentially.
That
could be like the creative office.
It's me, you, and Raptor Riley.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where Raptor Riley lives. I do wonder whether I need to like train her to do like Raptor stuff. It would be awesome.
Oh, mate, like on her hind legs.
Yeah, hind legs, that kind
do
of stuff.
sit pretty and then teach her to yawn on command.
Yeah.
So you could have a sit pretty and then yawn.
The thing is, she has
That'd
like
be
2
amazing.
yawns. One's a silent yawn and one is the loudest.
Yeah.
Should I get a yawn up for
I can
people
put
that
it
don't
on through the microphone, yeah, absolutely.
Because obviously, like, I try and record her yawns.
Mate, I've got... can you see my hand shaking?
From caffeine?
Yeah.
This is what happens.
I've not even had my can of Monster
Sorry,
this morning.
Yeah, so yesterday Will brewed coffee whilst
drinking a can of Monster. I usually get up at like 4 or 5 o'clock, and my routine's come downstairs, have a can of Monster, and I'll work for a few hours while everyone's asleep. Then it's shower, get ready, have a coffee. That just went out the window yesterday, so I didn't drink my Monster straight away, so then it all kind of spilled into my next thing. But I'm getting this thing with this, I think it's this Gardelli. I might maybe it's like a higher caffeine, because this is one we had yesterday as well, isn't it?
No, we had a Nicaragua coffee yesterday.
People
are like,
theory
you
goes out the window.
Snobs.
But I get like buzzing through my fingers. I can feel like electricity coming out my fingers. Do you know like Emperor Palpatine? It's him. I feel like I could do that right now.
Basically, drink Gardelli coffee and you become a Jedi or a Sith.
Come on!
Sorry!
Get out.
I actually really like Star Wars too. So anyway, we'll finish on Raptor Riley. So you can hear, so this is Riley's yawn. Oh, no, that was a rubbish one.
Come on!
I'll play. Where's the... That was a good one.
That was a Raptor
But
Riley.
it's Raptor Riley yawns are... There you go. That was the one I was looking for. But it's like Yeah, as Jurassic Park as you can get.
It's when we're in your office because you cover the crate.
I cover the crate so you can't see it, and then you just hear it.
Yeah,
You're like,
so, hi Riley.
Yeah.
Are you still there?
Oh, you've just woken up. Fantastic. Anyway, yeah. On that
I suppose
note,
on that note,
Skol.
Skol.
We have nothing left in our cup. You can't say Skol.